It is the land of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the birthplace of Jesus. From Genesis to Revelation, Israel is the centerpiece of God's story, a saga that continues to unfold in our daily news.
But behind the headlines are the people caught in the crosshairs of some really complex issues. It can be hard to see clearly from the outside, so let's explore my homeland from within.
Modern Israel is a relatively young nation, but it has seen its fair share of dark moments over the last 7 decades of its existence. Keeping your vision alive isn't easy when opposition, antagonism, and even war are pounding on your door. Faith can dim when you don't see eye to eye with those closest to you. This is the story of a man who looked beyond his circumstances to see what others could not.
It was clear for me from very young, it's not my land. It's not Jewish land, it's not Palestinian, it's God's land. As he decided, when he brought us here, and he told us the regulations, and if we don't keep the regulations, he will kick us away. And he did it for 2,000 years. But he promised to bring us again. The full name is Aryeh Yehuda Bar David, which is Lion of Judah, son of David. In English it sounds very bombastic, but in Hebrew, Aryeh, lion, Asad in Arabic, by the way. Born in Jerusalem, out of Olives, before independence of Israel, born 1947, to a family of 7 children. My father and my mother considered to be the first Jewish believers that raised a family in Israel. In those days, it looked crazy. You have to say you are Muslim, you are Jew, you are Christian. What is written? No, we believe in Yeshua, but we are Jews. My father and my mother, they were like pioneers in those days. It was independent war. We passed all the war in Jerusalem. We passed very hard attack. The last moment the British came and took us. My father got a bullet here, a bullet here. Neighbors, they were killed. They took us and brought us to the Jewish section of Jerusalem, Prophet Street, where there was American church. And they put us in the basement. And there we passed the war. It was hard for my mother, but she never complained. 3 babies down in the floor, no carpets, no heating, and it was snow. These young years made us, in a way, tough for all what will come later on. I passed hard times, 5 of the wars. 1 as a soldier, all the rest as a commander. I was ready to be killed every second. It was not a problem for me. I knew, because of all what I passed before, right, 67 war, attrition, all kind of things, that my life doesn't belong to me. I was in ambush, 10 soldiers, I was commander of the ambush. We got a hand grenade in the middle of our legs. I mean, the legs made a diameter of this. In the middle, hand grenade exploding. And as it happened, we were shot from 3 directions. Machine gun, you know. I'm crying out that I want iron numbers to know how many are killed. And I hear them, 1, okay, 2, okay. And they are shooting, they are fighting back, 3, 4. Number 10, a little blood on my, but okay. I couldn't believe it. This was already the third time that happened to me, things like this. That 100% you have to be killed. Now, what happens if you are not killed? You understand that your life doesn't belong to you. This was the way that I saw it, because I grew with the knowledge of fear of God, with the knowledge of fear of Yeshua, right? And so it's not my life. When I was teaching, I made, for instance, like the tonic. Okay, the tonic and the dominant. Tonic, and then the dominant. After finishing army, it was February 70. The day that I finished the army, the same day, I accepted to the Jerusalem Symphonic Orchestra, which is a miracle. And everyone told me, Arya, look, people are waiting till they are 40, 50 years old to have this job, and you are only 25, 26 and have it. For me, the orchestra was for one thing, to share with other people what I believe. I knew that Yeshua is the one that I love. I'm not thinking what I'm playing more than any other thing. I didn't mind all what I passed later on. I was there in the orchestra when the Yom Kippur War started. I was already in reserve forces. I have to say that it was really hard, because in these 3 years we did a lot of military service in Golan Heights, mainly in the Suez Canal. And everyone that was in my position as a paratrooper, we saw the war coming. We saw it. And it was such frustrating 3 years, because nobody believed it. Our defense minister, Moshe Dayan, no, it cannot be, there will not be war. And then it happened Shabbat. We were a family of 7 children. 6 of us were in the army, 3 paratroopers, which I was with one of the units with Ariel Sharon, another brother was the tank commander, and 2 brothers in the Air Force. And my sister was secretary of one of the generals. I really can say that Yom Kippur and what I passed in this war, for me it's yesterday. We were only 60 yards, the Israelis from the Egyptians. It was very clear. If we shoot on them and they shoot on us, I mean, we are all killed. All around us, all around the Egyptian army and the Syrian army, bombing each other. Now, we cannot bomb each other, because when they're 60 meters, you cannot even throw a mortar, because you have to do it 90 degrees, but it can fall on you. Our first mission was to conquer Mount Hermon, because Mount Hermon fell and the Syrian army was there. And then they changed our mission. They decided to send us with Ariel Sharon to cross the Suez Canal. Now, we were in a forest somewhere in the north part of Israel. And I was with my soldiers. For them, it was the first war. And I really tried to encourage them. Somebody found a broken guitar with 4 strings, so I started playing Israeli songs, really to get them, you know, you're commander, you're shepherd. And they were frightened. Total dark, because, you know. And as I'm talking, suddenly someone came around from in the forest, right, of the eucalyptus trees where we were under, and he cried out, "Is Aryeh there?" And I said, "Yes, I'm here with my soldiers." "What is the point? Can you come with me to our unit?" It was another unit. "Because we got some soldiers that came from United States, and they met Jewish, what in those days they called them Jews for Jesus people. And we know that you believe in Yeshua. We want you to tell us about Jews for Jesus." I answered him, you know, as, "Look, I don't mind, but I'm with my soldiers. You have to ask them if they would like me to go and to talk to you." My soldiers, "No, Aryeh is not leaving us. If you want, call your people to come here." He went, he called his people. And in minutes, I found myself surrounded by hundreds of paratroopers. I was not ready to this at all. And this guy that called me, he wanted me to talk about Jesus. It was impossible to believe that it can happen. And I'm finding myself, all the big unit of paratroopers, and I tell you several hundreds. And I start sharing. I felt very strong to encourage in Amos chapter 1, and I just continued on about the Messiah, about Yeshua, about his sacrifice, what he did for us, about the chance that we have now of repentance. What is the meaning of repentance, right? Very simple, very clear. And I did all what is called the mistakes that somebody can do, because people will tell you, if you talk about your faith, don't mention the word cross. Don't mention the word blood. You know, you understand? No, we are Jews, we don't like to hear these words. And I was sharing, I was talking, and nobody stopped me. In my unit that I was commanding them, 1/3 of them were religious Jews. I understand them. If somebody would come and talk about Hare Krishna, I would stop him. And they were upset that nobody stopped me. I felt that they are very, very, something inside of them, right? From one side, they really admired me as their commander. And almost when I felt I finished sharing about what is and who is Yeshua. And first of all, the most important, that he was a Jew. He came to our nation. He was living among us. And he offered us something that the Pharisees could not have it. They were jealous. I looked at them, I told them, I know exactly what you're talking among yourself. I know. I was your commander more than 1 year and 3 months before. Look now, I'm putting now in front of you, if my faith that Yeshua is Son of God is wrong, I want to be killed. Because if this is wrong, it's blasphemy what I'm doing. It's really blasphemy. And I too respect God to allow somebody like me to live, right? They were in shock. But if not, if he is the Son of the living God, you will see with your eyes. One of the group, he raised up to say something against me. We got the alarm on the airplanes to Sinai. I was so full of joy that God opened such an opening to go to a war, right? To share. And suddenly we felt that we see the airplane is running from side to side, because they decided we don't cross the Suez Canal, we land. It was too dangerous that the missiles will blew us. We landed and we crossed the Suez Canal. And we were starting fighting on the other side. We found ourselves as first unit of the paratroopers. We call it in the arrowhead, but the spits of the arrowhead. The Egyptians prepared an ambush. Excellent ambush of full commando unit. When we were around 15 yards from them, they opened fire. I'm crying to the unit behind. We call them the kitchen. They have all the hand grenades, not hand grenades, those that are shooting heavy machine guns. They have to cover to shoot on the Egyptians so we can start taking care about all the wounded and so on. No one bullet is coming from them. And they were the religious group that I told you before, that I told them, you will see with your eyes. Now, in the war, if you talk like this, people think you are crazy, right? If I cry, run, you run. If I cry, jump to the right, you jump to the right. I don't know what I will say. You do. And in this situation, we were more than 30. All of us, we got wounded. I was the only one, right, that I didn't get a bullet then. What happened now, I raised up and started walking to them. Now imagine hundreds of bullets on me. I'm not exaggerating. I've been so many times under fire. And I know that no bullet has permission to kill me. God will not let a stupid bullet to finish his plans. I arrived and I saw them in a trench of sewage with their bodies in the little trench and their, machine guns in the mud. You have to follow me. We are in very hard ambush. And other soldiers started coming. I ranged them and we started the attack. Like I told you, 4 hours war. Around 10 o'clock, we were deep in Egyptian area. And then we got in the radio, Ariel Sharon forced the ceasefire. Now, this ceasefire, it was forced on Israel in 24th of October by United States and by the Soviets. And it had to enter 6 o'clock in the evening. When we got the first clash in the ambush, in that second, the ceasefire has to start. Of course, nobody told us. Nobody knew it. We are in a war. So all these 4 hours, and all those who were killed, they were killed after the first ceasefire. But navigating, this was one of my specialties. I could navigate by all the stars, by the moon, everything, really. This night, I told you, I looked, I didn't know, I lost even directions. Because all was covered by smoke of burned tanks, burned ammunition. You don't see any star, you don't see anything to give direction. Why I tell you this? Because very high commander came to me, he told me that I have to bring now the unit back to the Israeli side. We were Egyptian and Israelis, one in the other. It was so dark, so foggy, smoky, that almost no chance to do it, right? I looked at him and I told him, look, we will go back to our forces, but I'm not going to do it. I have no idea where I am. God will do it. The soldier started crying, how you know? And I said only one word, the light. And this became very, very famous later on. Very famous, because I said, I don't know, it's the light, the light, the light. That's all what the soldiers later on, when we met, 10 years later, 20 years later, in their homes, in recordings, that's what they said it, I said, the light. I saw a light. I measure it like 15 degrees above the horizon. I never saw something so strong in my life. The strongest light that we know is the tank. When they open the projector of a tank, you can see 3 kilometers. This was like 100 times more. Not only light, it was like a magnet. I tried to describe to one of the rabbis. I felt that this is like a huge magnet, and I'm a little piece, and I lose control of myself. I just hear myself crying loud, run, run, run. We run, boom, we stop, and like 320 millimeters mortars falling behind. We continue, we take the people. I find myself, jump to the right. There were big holes for preparing the sewage system. We jumped down with all the wounded, and just on the next one, a bomb is falling, and I was like 5 meters in the air from the explosion. It was something that once in my life, never again. I don't know how long it was, maybe half an hour. Suddenly, it vanished. And I understood that we are very close to our unit. We came back, alive. And the story started spreading. And the soldiers were witness of all this. A very high rabbi came and wanted to talk to them. They didn't want. Talk only to Ari. He's the only one that has faith. And some of them took the yarmulke, which is very, very rare, and they threw it on the ground. So, talking all night, it was amazing, amazing talk with this rabbi. Remember, you don't go to the war. I go, God says. I go in front of you. Now, I was raised on these prophecies, on these verses, on this. It is in my DNA. As a commander, I felt as a shepherd. Now, what Jesus said, a good shepherd is giving his life for his sheep. I was raised on this. For me, he was my model of shepherding. So when the flock is under attack, he's not thinking about Israel, he's not thinking about the land, the nation. Only one thing, the sheep. You're not a commander, you're a shepherd. I think this was the strongest feeling and connection that I had with my soldiers. And they say it so many times about me. They said, you are more than, you are our father, you're everything for us, okay? But it's just because the modeling of Jesus. I want to make it clear. As soldiers in special units, all our children go to special units. And it's not easy to know what they are going to pass. It's not easy knowing how it can affect their life. This is, I really believe, this is the price of living in Israel. I will never leave this country. I had so many chances to live and to play in excellent orchestra all over the world. Conducting orchestra, they are not connected to Israel. You see, for me, this is the land that God brought us after 2,000 years. And that's why I'm here in this mountain, in this Yad Shmona, and this biblical garden. We are called back by His grace. And we have obligation, first of all, to the land that He chose and call it my land. I'm not fighting on my territory. It's His land. I believe it goes on. I see my grandchildren. I see how they are. I'm not proud of them. You know, I'm not this kind of man to be proud. But I see what is the meaning to be rooted. If somebody is rooted deep, wow.
The Bar Davids, I think we are very stubborn, all of us, for good and bad. The service in the army was very important, I think, for all of us.
I joined the Paratroopers Brigade when I was 18 years old. It's part of my life, from one hand to serve the Lord, and from the other hand to serve this country, and seeing during the years that it actually goes together.
I was one of the few believers that entered into a classified unit. Our officers and our friends, they started to suddenly know that there are those messianic Jewish soldiers. They are not any threat. They don't really care if no one sees them. They should be faithful because God is seeing them.
I had the opportunity to go to officer school and to become a major later on. In the second Intifada and during the second Lebanese war and different operations. Aryeh, from very young age, I remember him teaching us to love the land, to love the sites, the biblical sites, to read the Bible, to understand the scriptures as they are. Learning how to navigate here in this country, learning how the heritage of our armies.
Our uncles, they had their own shift, and now it's our shift. What I hope to pass to my children is, first of all, like I had the love to God, the willing to serve Him, even if it's hard.
I have three girls and one boy, so the girls, they probably won't be able to go to the paratroopers yet. Maybe one day, who knows?
I don't know if they will be paratroopers. I hope so. Maybe one of my girls. Everywhere that all my uncles were, when I hear all these stories, the hand of God was always there.
When the children of Israel were trapped between Pharaoh's army and the Red Sea, God told Moses, "Stand firm, and you will see the deliverance of the Lord." Yes, their predicament looked hopeless, but God was at work. In fact, whether we see it or not, God is always working. But like the children of Israel, fear, doubt, and unforgiveness can blind us from seeing God's presence. Simply remember the Apostle Paul, a man whose life was changed when he saw the light of Christ.
I leave you with a psalm penned by King David, a blessing over the city, and indeed a prayer for Israel.
Pray for the peace of Jerusalem. May they prosper who love you. May peace be within your walls, and prosperity within your palaces. For the sake of my brothers and friends, I will now say, may peace be within you. For the sake of the house of the Lord our God, I will seek your good.